Hello everyone, we are back with episode number 26, if my numbering is correct. And today we are discussing no surprises, what has been happening over the last 7 days. We touched on it in our last conversation. उस time पे थोड़ा सा there was a suspicion that this might happen. Uh, Israel at that point was weighing the option if they should go after Iran, and lo and behold, it happened last Friday. So we are almost a week after
7 days
that
in.
now. A lot has happened. We will cover all of that. Currently, so far, the status is both sides have exchanged like 7-8 attacks on a daily
Yeah.
basis. There is a casualty number. I'll quote from yesterday because I don't know the exact number for today. Iran was there were like 224 casualties in Iran, majority of which, according to Iranians, are civilians, like 90% of them, according to them.
Yeah.
And close to like 24, 25 casualties in Israel.
Yeah, according to the latest attack, the one on the hospital, I think that increased 50 for Israel, so it's about 70.
Right. So I'll do a quick recap. Friday night, it was Israel did some strikes in Iran, and before that, they used the intel that they had on the ground, and they pretty much executed like all the top tier of their military and IRGC and a bunch of scientists.
Mm-hmm.
And their stated objective at that time was, again, we have sorry, seen this thing in the past as well. Israel setting these unclear objectives. Just like in case of Gaza, they said that we will fight it till the elimination of Hamas. So again, these are like objectives. These that are hard to tell when they are fulfilled,
Mm-hmm.
and
So
when
there's
you're
no
gonna
exit
be.
strategy.
Yeah.
There's,
So similar kind of story here. They said that they want to totally take away their nuclear capability. So that's like a very vague statement. I don't know what that entails. But basically, so with that strategy, they went ahead. Massively compromised was Iran internally. They took some serious damage. Also militarily, uh, lost a lot of the capability along the way, military capability, you can say. And Israel has been consistently hitting them through airstrikes. Over time, they have attained this like clear air superiority over
mm-hmm.
Iran. So they are basically unchecked at this point. They can fly whenever, attack whenever.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been the situation. Iran, on the other hand, to my surprise, I was surprised after like how they were uh, handed this initial damage, how quickly they retaliated. Because if your top military leadership is gone, then basically so are all of your plans to deal with
Mm-hmm.
such a situation. So how quickly they rallied together and came up with responsive strikes day over day. Every single day we have been seeing that, was kind of surprising, and they have made some serious damage on the Israeli soil as well. At this point, the Ben Gurion airport is not operating.
Yeah.
Anyone traveling in and out of Israel have to go through either
Jordan's land border, yeah.
Cyprus or Egypt or Jordan.
Yeah.
So that's the situation, and during all of that, there was a G7 summit happening in Canada. Trump was visiting Canada, and during that, he cut the trip short, went back, and there was Israel has consistently been asking them to help them finish the job. And in the last for the last 3 4 days, it has been like a lot of thinking going on, it seems, in Washington, exactly how they should deal with this situation. Should they be going on the offensive on Israel's call, or should they hold? A lot of the people have a lot of theories around what might be happening. But yeah, that is where we stand as of now. So I'll to get into the details of it. I'll like that we go in the chronological order exactly how it happened. So, what was your sense of when the news started coming out last week, Friday, about what's
So
happening?
honestly, it seems so like it feels like ages ago, while so quickly as well at the same time. That
Yeah,
time has been so relative in this whole last week. So June 12th, Israel declared that they are doing a preemptive strike,
yeah.
and they called it Operation Rising Loin, which in a lot of ways is a symbol towards Iran's previous flag.
Oh, is that what it is? It was?
Yeah, they are not saying it, but yeah, the previous flag used to be a sun, like which is coming out and a loin over it.
Okay, interesting.
Um, so which is interesting. Uh, and then um, they took, as you said, they took their most of their uh, military leadership, and I think जो मेरे लिए चीज बहुत interesting थी वो ये थी कि um, I think none of us, I know we have an idea of it कि पिछले 20-30 सालों में Netanyahu has been obsessed with it, as in the famous words of Yalda Hakim. He has been obsessed with taking down Iran, and he has invested 20 years of his assets in um, figuring out what's happening, where's happening, what's happening. So there's a huge amount of the country that has been compromised. So बहुत ज्यादा penetration है मोसाद की, CIA की वहां पर, which we saw इतनी targeted जो assassinations हुई हैं कि आपने अगले के घर में apartment units में जो है fires हुए. So I think for me that was the first thing that I felt like, oh, they are more compromised than we ever imagined. That was the first thing that I thought. The second for me was कि how are they gonna retaliate from it? As you said कि जो है आपकी पूरी की पूरी top leadership आप जो है when it's gone, so who's gone? Because I was just going through the names. So there's Major General Chief of Staff, General IRGC Commander in Chief, Major General Khatmul Ambia Headquarters, General IRGC Aerospace Force, Brigadier General IRGC Air Defense, Brigadier General Deputy Armed Force Intelligence, Brigadier General Deputy Armed Force Operations, Brigadier General IRGC Intelligence Organization, RGS Intelligence Deputy, Khatmul Ambia Headquarters briefly, the one who was briefly appointed for that, and then scientists tied to Iran's nuclear program. So all these people have been killed in past 1 week, actually from 12th to 17th June.
Yeah.
After that, them retaliating was pretty huge. Again, there's a lot of human connection attached to it. One of a large population of Persians lives here, so we are connected with diaspora. So there has been a different kind of response as well. So to be honest, my read of the situation was we if US jumps in, the allies have to start taking sides.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been, for me, the key fear, because then it goes big. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and um, in the meanwhile, we knew that Pakistan might be meeting, because he tried to meet Modi, but it didn't work out. Modi was pretty mad at him because he's been going around saying that, oh, it got sorted between India and Pakistan because of me, and they are not really cool about it, which I completely understand. And now, for more so, I kind of have a respect for India in whatever weird way that they really hate foreign intervention, like the way they don't accept it. At least we
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't make it this normalized. I think now I feel more strongly about it than I felt like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
um so chief of army staff was being asked to come for a lunch. So I think for me, मैं continuously situation monitor कर रही थी कि हमारा क्या response होता है. और जो चीज से मुझे, I'm gonna be very blunt on it, I'm very scared कि हमें साइड लेनी पड़ेगी, एंड हमारी कोई अच्छी रेपुटेशन नहीं है इन सिचुएशंस में, टू विच साइड वी गोना गो, क्योंकि हमें खुद भी नहीं पता कि हम लाइक which side would be good for us as a country, right?
You
Uh,
think so? You think that? So I like until this point, we don't know what was discussed in that lunch meeting yesterday. We have just seen vague statements like Iran was discussed. Of course, Iran was going to be discussed
of
in some
course,
form, right? And also, this trip was planned long ago. The only thing that's surprising in this trip is that it has converted into a lunch with the president,
yeah,
which is big.
yeah.
Previously, it was just like,
So one to one doesn't happen, yeah.
yeah,
With
yeah.
it,
So probably he was expected to meet his counterpart previously, or some maybe secretary of state and not president. So I think that's what has
yeah,
caused people asking questions that why is this meeting happening and what is being discussed. I think we'll find out more as time goes on, because at this point it's mostly speculation. Uh, and there has, by the way, a lot of fake screenshots circling, mostly coming from India, that uh, Pakistan has been asked to give some of their air bases and probably port as well, which is not true. That has been
yeah, which is not true.
debunked. And also, like, some of the Indian accounts went so far as saying that US has probably offered Pakistan F-35s and F-22 if they give them their air bases. It's not happening.
No, it's not
Uh,
happening.
F-22,
But yeah,
they don't sell anyone F-22.
yeah,
It's a known fact. So yeah, I'm less concerned about what's happening there. I think we'll just wait and see what happens.
yeah. No, I agree that we have to wait, but at the same time, the thing is कि Balochistan is on the border, right?
Yeah.
जब अभी जो evacuation orders issue कर रहा है इसराइल और अमेरिका, which is so impractical कि आप एक 92 मिलियन की आबादी को कह रहे हैं कि जी आप जाएं,
Hmm.
कहाँ जाएं?
Yeah.
And we know
It's logistically not possible. Like.
not possible. और आपको पता है कि क्या options हो सकती हैं, क्या होगा? Like
Hmm.
they have a border with Armenia, they have a
Hmm.
border with Azerbaijan, Turkey, and us, right?
Yeah.
That's what end up happening usually, and that's what, to be honest, that's for me. To me, everything when it comes to war reminds me of what happened in Afghanistan. So for me, that's the like PTSD coming back.
या इट्स अ फेयर कंसर्न कि हम लोगों ने पास्ट में लाइक इतने जो हैं वो आप कह लें कि हम इतनी दफ़ा सांप से डसे गए हैं कि हमें लाइक हर चीज़ जो है लाइक रस्सी भी सांप दिखती है, यू कैन से दैट,
एग्जैक्टली।
राइट?
सो एक तो वो सिचुएशन थी, तो दूसरी, नाउ वी कम बैक टू दिस सिचुएशन विच इज मोर ऑफ कि अच्छा, so this is happening and there's a lot of back and forth happening, but I am very amazed for now that Trump haven't made a decision yet.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Not because I don't like, I think he, like, I do think he's very spontaneous, I do think that, but at the same times I do know he is not that a huge fan of wars. He's
Yeah,
looking for peace prize, and everybody's trying to like keep on like stroking his ego, telling everybody that, oh, you know, he can get still get a peace prize if you get solve this and stuff.
we did that.
We
Pakistanis
did
did that.
we did that. Chief of UN aid did that the other day. Like,
Yeah,
I was listening to his interview. There are a lot of multiple people are trying that.
yeah,
I, I think to get him to do the right thing or whatever they think is the right thing.
yeah.
Um, अब इस पूरी situation में I want to ask you something. So, what were you thinking when you were seeing all of this? And what were
So
your major concerns?
yeah, so I will explain how things and of course my reading and understanding have changed. So first 2 days it was like total dominations and everyone was surprised that what kind of a compromise is that where like वो आपके मुल्क के अंदर से एक पूरी ड्रोन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हब चला रहे हैं, उसको वो यूज़ करके आपको मिलिटरली उन्होंने आपकी सारी कैपेसिटी ले ली है एंड इट वाज लाइक टोटल डोमिनेशन पहले 2 दिन. एंड आई थिंक इसको मैं कनेक्ट करूँगा दैट इज़ वाई बिफोर it all started, Trump was continuously trying to shut up Netanyahu and trying to sort this out on the dialogue table. But excuse me, um, but what happened was पहले 2 दिन के development के बाद even someone like Trump was like so surprised that okay maybe we have a prize here. और उसके बाद जब आपको विक्ट्री नज़र आ रही हो एंड विल गेट टू द विक्ट्री पार्ट कि मैं विक्ट्री किसको कह रहा हूँ, तो यू आर ऑल ऑफ अ सडन अगर आप उसमें पहले नहीं भी इंटरेस्टेड थे तो यू आर ऑल ऑफ अ सडन के यार अगर मैं भी चलो 2-3 डंडे चलाने से मेरा भी इसमें नाम आ जाता तो व्हाई नॉट, राइट?
आप बहती नदियां में हम भी हाथ धो लेते हैं.
Yeah, so I think that got him interested. और ये वो दिन था जहाँ पे he's trying to cut the trip short, coming back from G7. But लास्ट 2-3 दिन में कुछ चीज़ें हुई हैं दैट आर वेरी काइंड ऑफ जो स्टोरी को थोड़ा सा चेंज करती हैं, विच इज़ कल वॉल स्ट्रीट जर्नल में आर्टिकल आया था कि Israel is running short of the interceptor missiles.
Yeah.
The defense system that Israel has, a lot of the people like call it Iron Dome, but Iron Dome is just like one component of it. It is like multi-tiered system. There is Arrow 3 for the long range, then there is David Sling that takes
Mm.
out the mid range, and then if it passes both of those, then Iron Dome takes care of that. So which means what? That there at some point there are multiple projectiles being fired to intercept a single ballistic missile. So why is it important? Because this thing has a cost, and I was looking at the numbers, and that was like the fourth day. तो जो इंटरसेप्टर मिसाइल इसराइल यूज कर रहा है उसकी इनको जो डेली कॉस्ट पड़ रही थी दैट वाज क्लोज टू $250 million.
Million, yeah.
सो दैट मीन्स कि जब चौथे दिन हम इसको देख रहे तो दे हैड ऑलरेडी स्पेंट $1 billion
Billion
जस्ट
dollars.
ऑन द ऑन टेकिंग डाउन द मिसाइल्स जो ईरान उनके ऊपर फायर कर रहा था.
Mm-hmm.
प्लस उसके अलावा जो उनको खुद नुकसान हो रहा है कि उनकी हाइफा पोर्ट के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है वो
Mm-hmm.
पार्शली ऑपरेटिव है या कभी बंद है, उनकी वहाँ पे ऑयल की एक पाइपलाइन है वो थ्रेट पे है, कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड है, फिर आपका एयरपोर्ट फंक्शन नहीं कर रहा, तो इस
Mm-hmm.
सब के इकोनॉमिक कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज होते हैं. So that, and so when I was looking at that, I was thinking, okay, if Iran keeps sending these barrages of missiles, then they're gonna overwhelm that. So what would Israel's response to that would be? Israel's response to that was कि हम इनकी launch capability ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लेने की कोशिश करते हैं, so that there are less projectiles headed our way, so we'll have to intercept less of them. So Israel for the last 3 days has been trying to take out their missile stockpiles and their launch capability as much as they can, because that will bring down the cost factor for them. But then today something interesting happened. When I woke up, I saw the tweet from the supreme leader, and he, like, the language sounded all of a sudden very confident. So I started wondering what has changed. And what had changed was I looked at the New York Times article about the last night's attack, where they also hit one of the hospitals. Um, they shot like 30 odd projectiles and 10 of them went through. So that was like a huge ratio. Like if 30% of them went past your defense system. So then I started wondering why. And then I read that now they are kind of rationing the interceptor missiles. So, which basically means previously you could fire multiple projectiles against a single missile just to make sure that it doesn't flow through your
Yeah.
defenses. Now all of a sudden you have to decide, okay, this one is hitting on less populated zone, let this go through, let's target this one. So when you look at that, then that tells you something, that probably a longer conflict suits Iran, and which also explains why Israel has been becoming more and more worried and trying to pull US as soon as possible. Um, so I think at this point for Israel, it's even more critical for US to jump in. About US, just to give like a quick detail why Israel needs US in all of this is because uh, Iran has a bunch of nuclear sites. The two famous ones that have been discussed a lot in the last 2 days have been Natanz and Fordo. So Natanz, they have continuously been hitting, but Fordo is like the prized location. The important thing for that location is it's buried like under the mountain with
Yeah.
tunnels, and Israel does not have anything that can penetrate the surface of it. So they basically need US, which still cannot guarantee that US can penetrate the surface, but they still have the best chance with the bombers that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they have consistently been asking for US to kind of help them finish the job. I think the why there has been a lot of thinking going on is, first, they're still running assessments, and again there was an article on this today that
Mm-hmm.
the US is discussing whether their uh, most effective bunker busters, they called it like MOP, like massive ordnance penetrator or something, it weighs like 15 tons, whether even with that they can penetrate. Because if they can't, then it doesn't make sense to jump in at all. Then
Mm-hmm.
then their best bet is trying to pull back from it in some way, right?
Mm-hmm.
um so I think there is a debate going on that. And the other thing is, a lot of the core mega base has been very vocal. A lot of the US politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene and a bunch of others, even people like Tucker Carlson, they have been asking, why are we even getting close to this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Israel started that, let them finish that. So of course Trump would be seeing all of that, so he
Yeah.
is also he even his mind at this point will be weighing, should we do, should we not do. So there is the like the for and against in that is the case for is, if you do it and you're successful, then you push back Iran's nuclear program like 20-30 years back, right? So that would be like a big win. And Trump likes these kind of trophies, right? So that would be a case for it. But the case against it is, what if something like the Iraq kind of story happens, where you go in, you don't find anything substantial, and then you're dragged in a war for years, and then whoever was linked with the Iraq war did not have like the best of years ahead, right? So I think that is like a lot of for and against discussions happening at this point. um so coming back to, what was your question originally? Sorry, I went the.
No, I think you answered my question. I was asking you what were your feelings to it. So, for people who watches our podcast, I just want to make it clear. So, despite of there's a lot of propaganda running, कि अच्छा ये इसलिए हो रही है और ये इसलिए हो रही है या उसलिए हो रही है. The main reason this is happening is because Israel claims that Iran has nuclear weapons and they are very close to it. They are like very close to it, or जो है, that is an existential threat to Iran, Israel, and they need to do something about it right now. अब इस पे
Which by
हमारे
the way
पास
has been, which by the way has been called illegal by all the legal experts, that you cannot, like you cannot do a preemptive strike unless you
it's
have.
aggression. Yeah,
Yeah,
unless you
yeah,
have
you,
approval from the UN and then there's
and you
enough
have to like,
support
well, like an obvious evidence that this is
evidence.
happening, like because agar aap is tarah chalenge, to by that standard any country can attack anyone in the name of
Exactly.
preemptive strike. There are some of the people who have written like proper uh, articles about it, how this
हम्म.
thing is illegal.
तो अब अब जो इसके ऊपर सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है वो ये है कि पिछले 30 सालों में multiple occasions पे Netanyahu has said that Iran is very close to getting nuclear weapons. Now, let me compare this with a situation that happened back in. Let me just confirm the dates so I do not. So, Israel has done this in Iraq, where it has attacked its nuclear reactor.
Yeah, that was in the 1980s, I think.
Yes, so it was in 80s, also in June, and exact same thing. They said the same thing. They attacked it.
But that was kind of successful, right? They were able to
Yes.
push them back.
So after years, it has been said that it has been a successful thing. Um, but we know how Iraq war has gone into that direction. कि उनके पास वेपन ऑफ आपके पास है मास डिस्ट्रक्शन का. फिर उसके बाद हमने लिबिया में भी यही सिचुएशन देखी है, हमने सीरिया में भी यही सिचुएशन देखी है. We have seen these these chases that the western side of the world decides to go on, जो कि in a lot of ways जब आपके पास एक गोल नहीं होता, आपका एक एग्जिट स्ट्रैटेजी नहीं होती, तो आपको पता नहीं होता कि आपने कितने पैसे बंद करने, आपको नहीं पता आपके कितने बंदे मरेंगे. एंड फॉर नाउ आई एम नॉट इवन टॉकिंग अबाउट आवर साइड ऑफ द कैजुअलिटीज या ग्लोबल साउथी कैजुअलिटीज या मिडिल ईस्टी कैजुअलिटीज. आई एम जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट देयर साइड ऑफ इट, कि आपकी इकोनॉमिकली कितना बड़ा प्रेशर आ सकता है आपके पास, जो है आपके कितने लोगों की डेथ हो सकती है, आपके वेटरन्स जो वापस आते हैं उन handling their PTSD and mental health is a whole other thing, and then you don't have healthcare for them. So there's that issue that comes with it. Or Republicans have been Uh, in a lot of ways, the far right have been against wars and been involved into all of these things. Um, the ones who weren't learned from the Iraq situation, and you could see them advocating against the Iran war and
Mm-hmm.
have been advocating in past couple of years. अब the thing that amazes me is कि हम आपके पास एक negotiations चल रही हैं, ठीक है वो फेल होती हैं, बट आप मिल रहे हैं 2 दिन
Mm-hmm.
बाद, and Israel launched the attack. Now
They also, by the
that's
way, killed the guy who was negotiating from
negotiating, yeah, that
Iranian
had
side.
negotiated that. So, अब like what exactly, like you don't want them to have nuclear power. You you, you pulled out of the deal that Obama got. You were against that deal. He heavily talked to Republicans and lobbied against that deal. So when the Trump came in the government, he pulled himself out of that deal. What exactly is it? Is it the nuclears, or is it something else? Is it just because definitely they are proxies. We know there Iran is a threat to Israel. I think the only threat to Israel. Um, I like I am generally at this point not convinced enough because आपके पास जो 2003 से अब तक की जितनी intelligence है, it has been saying over and over again, and there have been articles stating that there's been NPT reports, there are IAE reports that Iran does not have a capability to have nuclear weapon. How come you take an aggressive action and you are selling the same book you sell with all of this over and over again? Okay, so as I was talking about that, I don't understand कि जब आप ये कह रहे हैं कि एक कंट्री न्यूक्लियर जो है आप नहीं चाहते कि उनके पास न्यूक्लियर कैपेबिलिटीज हो,
Mm-hmm.
और इन अ लॉट ऑफ वेज आपके पास प्रूफ है कि उनके पास नहीं है, आपके पास एक डील थी उनके साथ जो है, why it does it you keep getting into in conflict with them and making that as a reason? Because right now, full-fledged war wasn't declared by Iran.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't they didn't declare war. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying they are not the proxies, that is not happening. That is
Mm-hmm.
happening. And I acknowledge that. But आपके पास वो proofs नहीं है कि you could go to a full-fledged war and start attacking in somebody's country and taking out, assassinating somebody's officials. That is not a normal thing to do.
Yes. So I think I know exactly why they did this now and why. So they looked at it like a golden opportunity, and the reason for that is all of the Iranian proxies are not kind of effective at this point.
Mhm.
Hezbollah is kind of defeated, you can say. Hamas is like totally contained at this point. Uh, the Syria mein Bashar al-Assad is no more. So at this point, from Israel's point of view, they found Iran kind of cornered. So they found this as this window of opportunity that they wanted to use. I think that's why they went ahead with this. I think even in their own calculus internally, they would know that कि ईरान मुस्तकबिल करीब में तो बम के नज़दीक नहीं है, but
Mhm.
when they are in the future, probably we will not have this ideal window of opportunity to go after them. So I think that is precisely the reason that they chose like this time
So
to do it.
today, I was listening to this American Iranian journalist. She grew up in Iran, raised in Iran. She has interviewed every president, every foreign minister Iran ever had, and she has been in between where she would be talking to both governments. Krista, her name's Krista, and she was on Jon Stewart's show. and she said something which is very interesting to me, was that it's kind of a self-prophecy for them, because if they survive, the Iranian regime survive this, they will go for it. They would not, they will definitely go for the nuclear weapons, because you're asking somebody that we think you are an existential threat to us. You should not have a nuclear weapon, if like, because that would cause us harm. But even if you don't have that, we will come and kill you, and we'll show you that you what could happen to you. And that is the same argument Medicine is making. That's the same argument a lot of people in US is making right now, that currently what Israel did is basically giving an incentive to Iranian government that they should have a nuclear program. They should get nuclear weapons, because there's impunity that Israel enjoys, that they do not declare. They are very ambiguous about their nuclear plans. It's widely believed they have it, but nobody asks them. They don't say yes or no. They have a mutual understanding with the US that the US will not make them sign NPT. At this point, uh, let's put it as an analogy. If I am living in a neighborhood where my neighbor is I have an existential threat with my neighbor, and my neighbor have nukes, I would try and get nukes, because
Yeah.
that's the logic with which Pakistan and India went, right? There's the exactly same logic that when India got the nuclear weapon, Pakistan had to get it, because that keeps us in whatever balance, a messed up balance we have in the region.
Yeah, I think the ideal example for that is Ukraine. They gave up nukes, and
Yeah,
look where they are today.
yeah.
So there are enough examples, and frankly, I don't think they can. Iran is at a position now where they cannot be stopped from building a nuclear bomb. The best that they can do is probably push that some years, maybe a decade at max. But
Mhm,
you cannot take that away. I was thinking about all the versions.
mhm,
Is there any version in which they don't? I don't think so. Even with a regime change,
mhm.
if you change this regime, whoever comes next, don't you
We have that
think they?
example in our country. We
Yeah,
took Bhutto,
yeah,
but Zia came, you installed him,
yeah,
but he built the nukes, because
yeah,
anybody who's gonna come in power, viewers into it, gonna realize this is messed up. We can't live like that.
yeah, yeah. You just cannot live under a threat forever. Like you have to have some kind of a response, and I think that will make a compelling argument for Iran to have a nuclear weapon at some point.
अच्छा अब इस so we have talked about कि क्या options है. There is this continuous conversation of regime change, um, which to me is very interesting, because you go to another country and you're like, regime should change because they don't like us. Is asking somebody to dump their like dad because you don't like them. It's, I mean, in whatever capacity, that's a very weird thing to ask. And I'm not even, and we will go towards the political unrest in Iran and the things that's happening in Iran. And I think Iran and Israel both are right now have the far right governments,
Yeah,
and
and they're both not popular.
they both not popular, and they both are doing massive human rights violations in their countries. आपके पास जब like this under because आपने ये देखा है अफगानिस्तान में. They came, they saw, oh, like recently we saw with the Osama bin Laden documentary, they were like, oh, people were cheering when we came, and they were so happy. Sure. uh what happened then? You left them behind with the same government. The same thing you did in Syria. The guy who's currently ruling was part of Taliban groups. You left a vacuum in Iraq that breeded ISIS. You
Hmm.
have the worst government in Libya right now. So clearly आपकी ये regime changed logic तो बन नहीं चल नहीं रही है ना. Or whatever that thing that you think that you're gonna go and liberate people is not working. Um, how come politically you're still convincing? Because in other fronts, I understand. I completely understand because आपके पास सबसे बड़े जो है आपके पास जो buyers हैं weapons की and all of it is Middle East. I understand the interest of weapon industry. I understand interest of IPAC. I understand other lobbies' interest in it because a lot of Middle East lobbies are there and that's happening, and I get that. But how do you politically justify it to your voters going back and back and talking about that these are just human rights violations that you're going after? Because I don't like in what way you're convincing people that this random guy in Middle East, thousands of miles away, hates us. And there has not been an actual genuine threat to American existence because of him. Like you cannot come up with a credible threat that happened in the last couple of years, right? Like I get with Taliban, like you had 9/11, you're like, okay, yeah, let's go
Not
do
for the
this.
Americans, at least.
Yeah, I'm talking about Americans. How do you think you can justify this?
Hmm.
And to me, that is very interesting that we still going with the same kind. It's the same kind of language the congressmen are using. It's the same kind of like. Do they actually think people are dumb, or do they not understand that the world has massively changed? We are way too connected for people to buy in these logics now.
Hmm. True. I think the it basically is that debate, like why US goes to such great lengths to support Israel, because frankly, you US does not have like a direct threat from Iran, even from the nuclear point of view, because US's assessment is that they're not anywhere close to making the nuclear
Yeah.
weapon at this point, right? So that threat
Mhm.
does not exist for US at all. So then leaves with why they are going to such great lengths to help Israel. And I think that is like the same uh, debate. The only reason that made sense to me was uh, they provide them this strong intelligence source into the whole region. So they get
Mhm.
to kind of outsource all of this effort that they themselves don't have to do then. So they can rely on Israel to take care of the Middle East. That seems like the main reason to me. Other than that, uh, I don't think there is a reason for Americans to go there, and I don't think they were interested at all. Like Trump wasn't. If we discussed even in our last episode, Trump's statements were like, let's talk it out, let's discuss this on the table. He was trying to
Mhm.
silence the Israelis continuously. Uh, Again, what has changed is Israel probably did too well in the first couple of days, and then Trump started smelling a possible victory here that he could
Mhm.
kind of project his power through. I think that is the only reason they are weighing even the possibility of probably jumping into this war, which we still do not know if it's gonna happen or not.
Okay. Okay, so I think let's go to the political unrest in both countries.
Hmm.
So let's talk about Iran. Um, so the political unrest in last 10 years have been imminent, and it's been on different occasions. Different things have been happening. In 2013 there were really large protests. They have um, a lot of people that who are here doing their masters and PhD right now have been at University of Tehran at that point. They shut down the gates of University of Tehran, and they did a lot of shelling because there were a lot of student protests going on. Then you see there were huge protests in 2018. You see a lot of protests when they shot down accidentally the a flight, the Ukrainian flight
Yeah.
that had a large number of Canadian Iranians on that plane. Massive tragedy. And then you see the women life freedom movement, which basically I was reading about it, and it starts from the Kurdish. So the Kurdish movement is again has a massive link to again Urdugan as well. So that movement is a part of it, and because Mahsa was part Kurdish, so that's how it started. अब वहां पर ह्यूमन राइट्स वायलेशंस हैं, वहां वुमेन राइट्स वायलेशन भी है. देयर नो डिनाइंग. अगर आप ये डिनाई कर रहे हैं तो ये आपके अपने बायसेस हैं. Does that allow a foreign intervention, or that does that mean there should be a foreign intervention? I don't think so. I think people should have the Iranian people should have a power to change the regime.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
will.
But that's the principal thing, right?
Yeah,
So that
that's
is
the
what should
principle.
happen. But the question is, like, if let's say the the enemies dial up the heat and the current regime find themselves squeezed,
Yes.
is there a possibility that maybe the maybe the people in Iran do not like it happening? They probably want to choose their government themselves, but
Yes.
if they find it as an opportunity to get rid of the current regime, and maybe whoever comes next, we will try to pressure them to have kind of a re-election or something.
Completely
Do you,
understandable.
yeah, do you think like a possibility exists for such a thing happening?
I think so. I do think so. And I do not think it would be healthy. If it happens, I think I will be extremely surprised. The reason I will be surprised is that I don't think people in Iran wants like royalty back. Though you have been talking about the democratic system and all of this, but I mean, you are a crown prince. Great. On what basis are you thinking you should be like reinstated back if you're
Right.
talking about democracy, right?
Hmm.
So there is that element to it, and I don't think I know there is a huge soft corner for him in people in diaspora, especially the ones who moved here in back in 80s around time of revolution, and I understand that. But the people who came here recently, uh, who have lived their lives there, want a democratic system. They and and to be very fair, I was at a convocation a few days ago at York's convocation. 80% of the PhD students that graduated from York were Persian. 90% of the master's students were Persian. There was an overwhelming majority of the undergraduate students were Persian. So they are highly educated people.
Hmm.
And I have I have honestly a pleasure working with a lot of them, and they are extremely smart people. So you have you and also again, despite of and I'm not giving the credit to regime for this, despite of the way they are oppressing their women, 70% of the scientists and the engineers in Iran are women.
Hmm.
So you are fighting with you are not you're not going to a Taliban government. You're not going to a country where women are not educated. These women are educated. They have been fighting for their rights. So you cannot sell them liberation. They know what liberation feels like. They know what it means like. Again, it's the same Bashar al-Assad kind of setup. They have these jails where they have put all their intellectuals, their authors, their journalists, their artists. So even right now, they have shut down the internet, and under the pretext of because we are compromised as a country and they can spy wherever they want, they are arresting civilians and they are transferring them from one prison to another. Half of the people that I know in Iran are extremely scared of. They know their families get really scared when they talk about regime because they have seen so many examples of people being picked and never their parents wouldn't know where they are, dead or alive. And it's a very similar situation we have in Pakistan. It's a missing person situation. So when you're dealing with a situation like that, I get what you're saying and I understand that. And to that, I want to also make this one point, which I think as Pakistanis, हमें थोड़ा सा सोचना चाहिए इस बारे में कि अगर मिडिल ईस्ट में बार बार फॉरेन इंटरवेंशन से रिजीम चेंज हो रही है ना, तो कुछ गलती तो हमारी भी है कि हम अपने लोगों को इतना एलियनेट कर देते हैं from the democratic process, from hampering the democracy, for isolating them, for having different opinions, कि it gets to a point. आप उसके बाद आप पब्लिक की मोरालिटी जो है आप 4 दिन डिस्कस करें या 10 दिन डिस्कस करें. But I don't think a state, people owe state a loyalty. They owe loyalty to their country, but not the state. A state has a responsibility towards people. And in this sense, the state is not been doing any good to them. इस टाइम उनकी economical situation बहुत terrible, and I understand it's because of the sanctions and stuff, but they also didn't do much for them as well. So in a situation like this, where there's a huge community that do not see, and I understand them. Do I agree with them or not? That's a whole other region. And to be honest, it's not my place to agree or disagree with them. It's their country, they get to have an opinion. But there is an overwhelming majority that do not see Israel or America as their enemy. They think it's the regime's enemy. They think they made up this enemy. They have created this problem. It wasn't a problem for them.
Yeah, that is the image of mostly, like among the people, there is this understanding that, which is obviously not true, which is basically simplification of the fact, is that all of the Iranian diaspora is like that, which is not true.
It's not true. I mean, see, here's the thing. What we are seeing is from a very, myopic lens. They're like, oh, how could you be happy when your country is attacked? Not really. Nobody is happy when their country is attacked. But for past 10 years, they've been killed. They've been arrested. They've been killed. Nobody's safe. Nobody can talk to anybody. इस टाइम पे ये सूरत हाल है कि लोग आपस में अपने दोस्त, हम 4 दोस्त बैठते हैं और हम आपस में बात कर सकते हैं, और हम जब उठते हैं तो हम ये नहीं सोचते कि यार ये कहीं जाके किसी को रिपोर्ट ना कर दे.
Yeah.
उनकी ये सिचुएशन है. उन्हें नहीं पता कि ये रिजीम का बंदा है कि ये मोसाद का बंदा है.
Yeah.
और वो जब आप इस लिमिट पे पहुंच जाते हैं ना, क्योंकि जब मासा अमीनी वाले प्रोटेस्ट हो रहे थे तो आई वाज टॉकिंग टू माय फ्रेंड्स एंड आई वाज लाइक कि यार हमारे यहाँ इस तरह की सिचुएशंस होती हैं तो वी रैली बिहाइंड आवर लेफ्टिस्ट एंड आप जो भी आपके लीडर्स होते हैं जो कि बात कर रहे होते हैं इसके लिए, सो यू ज्वाइन इन, यू टॉक, यू सिट विद दीज पीपल, एंड कुछ ना कुछ तो आपकी भड़ास निकलती है. कुछ आपको लगता है कि यू आर डूइंग समथिंग, आप प्रोटेस्ट पे जाते हो, ये करते होते हैं. And all of them just said to me, they're like, we can't do that. And I was like, what do you mean you can't do that? And they're like, हमें नहीं पता हम जिससे कांटेक्ट कर रहे हैं वो किसको हमारे बारे में क्या कह सकता है.
Yeah.
और जब आप इस जगह पे आके खड़े हो जाते हैं ना, तो आपने एक नेशन को ऑलरेडी इतनी बुरी सिचुएशन में लाके खड़ा कर दिया. सेकेंडली, एक जो नोशन है पाकिस्तानियों के अंदर, विच इज कि जी ना वो इस्लाम पे अब ना बहुत सारे जो ईरानियन है वो एथियस्ट हैं जी, या एग्नोस्टिक हो चुके हैं, तो उनको इसीलिए इस्लामिक रजीम से मसला है वो। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आपकी स्टेट का ये होना ही नहीं चाहिए, बट देन अगेन वी शुडंट गो इनटू शुड और शुडंट
Yeah.
और द मॉरल थिंग्स ऑफ इट। बट आपके पास एक जो है स्टेट ये डिसाइड कर रही है नहीं डिसाइड कर रही है वो एक अलग चीज है, बट जब वो स्टेट आपके बिहाफ पे डिसीजन मेकिंग कर रही है और पिछले 40 सालों में आपको राइट ऑफ चॉइस है ही नहीं।
Hmm.
उनका सिस्टम इतना इंटरेस्टिंग है, जो कि मेरे लिए बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग था। उनकी पांच की काउंसिल है जो कि सुप्रीम लीडर को चूज करती है, और सुप्रीम लीडर उन पांचों को चूज करता है,
अरे वाह.
और वही उसको दे कैन होल्ड हिम अकाउंटेबल।
Hmm.
सो आई वाज लाइक ये तो नैब है।
Yeah.
और फिर यही बंदा सिलेक्ट करता है कि कौन प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स के कैंडिडेट्स होंगे, तो एंड देन यू पिक वन ऑफ देम।
जैसे इसको वजीर आजम बना दो, इसको तुम मुझे वजीर आजम बना दो, तुम मुझे एक्सटेंशन दे दो, मैं तुम्हें फील्ड मार्शल बना दूँ, लाइक सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ थिंग, राइट?
वेरी सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स। तो आप जब वो सिस्टम देखते हैं ना, वो जो है, आई डोंट थिंक कि लोगों, ये जो हमारा एक कॉन्सेप्ट है ना, लाइक द फ्रीडम of choice, the freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of able to practice what you don't want to practice is a basic human right. और आपकी your inner fantasies of religion should not be imposed on other countries. And I saw somebody tweeting this, and it's a sad thing to say, but somebody said कि I think Pakistanis really need to stop telling other countries that the version of Islam they want them to practice. खुद तो हमारे हम करते नहीं ना, हम भी जो है ना हमारा जो है, and to our credit, we have never elected a religious government. We don't.
No, they are like they're not even in top 4.
In 9/11, after 9/11, there was the first time two
MMA.
governments were made which were religious parties, and those both were overthrown into their next terms because people were
Yeah.
like, yeah, we had enough of you.
Yeah.
So for a country like ours, we really need to take a step back and understand. And I think मुझे वो लॉजिक ज्यादा बेहतर समझ आती है जिसमें ये कि अगर करंटली ये रिजीम के बजाय कोई और रिजीम आती है तो वी माइट लूज द पार्ट ऑफ बलूचिस्तान। आई गेट दैट बेटर देन ओ नहीं, ये जो ये हमारे दिमाग में जो कुछ चीजें हैं ना, द इस्लामिक ब्रदरहुड, मुस्लिम उम्मा का बम, और जो है ना हमें इसके साथ खड़ा होना है या उसके साथ खड़ा होना, आई थिंक दीज ऑल लॉजिक्स needs to we need to from east to west, and my comment is very much directed to Ted Cruz comment. We need to really get out of this theological politics.
Yeah, absolutely. उसकी सबसे बड़ी एग्जांपल पिछले 7 दिनों में जो नज़र आ रही है, लोग जितना बाइनरीज में लोग इस तरह के सवाल कर रहे हैं कि रशिया कब ज्वाइन करेगा इनको, ईरान को कब ज्वाइन करेगा, चाइना किस तरह सपोर्ट करेगा इनको। तो लोग लाइक दे हैव लाइक एब्सोल्यूट बाइनरीज जिसके अंदर वो देख रहे हैं कि लाइक एक देयर इज लाइक द गुड साइड एंड द बैड साइड, और इनका जो है वो लाइक सारे जो रशिया शुड join the war. Like पाकिस्तान में इस टाइम पे if you see WhatsApp, तो people are so desperate कि world war क्यों नहीं start हो रही, and we
Yes,
should and all of these like Russia, China, Pakistan, they all should join the side of Iran, and I don't know.
हदीसें निकल आई होनी है।
Absolutely.
तो
Yeah.
yeah, so I think so let's talk about Israel and the unrest they have.
Yeah, so they were they are continuously being hit since the war started on daily basis. And in the initial days, their defense system was doing pretty good, so the strikes were not kind of fragmented and rare. But recently, like especially कल जो है, a hospital was hit जिसका उनको बहुत अफसोस हो रहा था. All of a sudden there were people saying कि hospital पे attack कर दिया. And I mean, there were even people making jokes कि आपने जो है वो मरीजों को जो है ह्यूमन शील्ड्स बनाया हुआ है, पीछे आपने मुसाद की बिल्डिंग रखी हुई है. So the situation there is getting worse and worse. I don't know how much they can take because we used to नहीं है.
Mm-hmm.
And also there are some orders being passed जहाँ पे वो इस चीज़ के ऊपर बैन लगा रहे हैं कि आप इस तरह ये जो मिसाइल आके गिर रहे हैं इसके विजुअल्स वगैरह ना शेयर करें, इसकी लोकेशंस वगैरह ना शेयर करें. तो दैट टेल्स के इट इज़ हर्टिंग. अब क्वेश्चन इज कि ये कितना हर्ट कर रहा है एंड आप कितना इसको टेक कर सकते हैं.
यस. सो एक चीज तो ये है कि आई मीन आई जस्ट वांट से इट हियर कि when you have bombed 36 hospitals, um, it's very, very hard for the world to feel sorry for you.
That was
And
that was actually true. The like
yeah,
the amount of jokes that were being made on that incident.
every single tweet that I opened that Israeli tweeted or like an ally tweeted, people have replied like it was without any religion or anything. It was just everybody was saying that if you normalized it.
Yeah.
You normalized hitting hospitals.
Yeah.
So now the thing is that when people read this news, it doesn't shake them. You made this inhumanity that people have towards your civilians is what you did to people.
Yeah.
And the things that you're asking for, there's a lot of humanity you're asking. And to be very clear on it, anywhere kahin bhi koi masoom insaan ki death hoti, it's sad. The children and everything is just sad to look at the visuals anywhere in the world. But aapne ye itna normalize kar diya. We have been watching for past 2 years the genocide broadcasting from our phones.
Yeah.
And now it's not even that, oh, we feel so sorry for Gaza that we can't feel sorry for you. It's not that. It's just we all being so sanitized. We really don't know how to react to these things anymore.
Yep.
So that's the thing with you're expecting a very selective humanity and it's not going to happen. But at the same time, I really want to talk about in past few years. So there are certain things that have been reported in Israel's news media, and I'm going to quote Israel news media, and I'm not going to quote Al Jazeera. I'm not going to quote international media. Aapke paas massively people have been killed, imprisoned, attacked for talking in the favor of Palestine in Israel. People who have rejected being drafted into IDF have been present. There have been massive reports in Israeli media about sexual assaults done by IDF soldiers in West Bank and in Gaza. And all of this is readily available. So you can go and search for this, and I'm going to make sure that we do put these links, because I have always heard this argument that, oh, you are quoting Al Jazeera, which is banned in West Bank and Israel, or you're quoting these people who are anti-Semites and they don't they just want to say these things. So I'm going to make sure I'll put them there. You have opened a war in every neighborhood. You have not letting reach aid to the people in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
You started Gaza Humanitarian Fund, which opens fire on people every time they come and get it. And you're being lying to tooth and nail while the neutral everybody who's a neutral volunteer has been saying it's you opening the fire, saying Hamas is opening the fire on the people. It's
Yeah.
you opening the fire on the people.
Yeah.
And you have been calling UN aid as anti-Semites for not for helping people there. You have kidnapped 12 volunteers and civil society activists from Freedom Flotilla. You so and all of these things have seen. So you see all of this unrest, and we are not even talking about West Bank right now, which is under extreme oppression. People are being killed on daily basis. People's towns and houses are being
Yeah.
taken under the
Settlers are moving
pretext
in.
settlers are moving in. All of this is happening. And as we talked, the Gaza has been under siege for past 27 years.
Yeah.
So this is the part that you're like, oh, these people are not good and they have Hamas and they are terrorists and all of that. But what you're doing to your own people, at the same time, people who are out on the roads for past 5 years protesting Netanyahu's government have met with extreme violence.
Yep.
It has been widely seen as Netanyahu's last act to save himself while attacking Iran.
Yeah. I think they were bringing like a vote of no confidence against him or something
Yeah.
in a week or something.
So you're seeing a theological state which has elected a far-right government, which is involved in this kind of oppression, which is causing people massively. And again, let's while we talked about the Iranian diaspora, let's talk about the Israeli diaspora. The people who are the leftist are extremely against him. They have been out. They say that they are the only heaven in the world for Jews. At the same time, the Orthodox Jews are extremely against it. They are at the protest day after day, a week after week.
And उनको वो बोलते हैं self hating Jews हैं ये.
Yeah, they also call that to Jon Stewart. So I like when you watch, there's this quote long ago an Persian author wrote. She said that there is a lot in common between people of Iran and the people of America. Then there's common between people of Iran to their garment and people of America to their garment. But their garments have way too much in common. It's pretty much the same thing in Iran and Israel. And I just want us to stop idealizing these garments and like taking it as कि ये तो इतने अच्छे लोग हैं और ये तो जो है पैलेस्टीनियंस के हक में लड़ रहे हैं. Not really. The alliances that are made, the political alliances and the military alliances are heavily motivated by
National interests.
national interest. They are not motivated by Islamic Brotherhood for as much as you want it to be. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. A big reminder or a perfect reminder of that was जो हमारे मुल्क में पीटीआई वालों को मिला जब अभी फील्ड मार्शल साहब के साथ ट्रंप ने मुलाकात की. हालांकि अभी से सिर्फ 4 महीने पीछे हम चले जाएं तो हमें बताया जा रहा था कि बहुत लॉबिंग हो रही थी और हमें बताया जा रहा था कि यूएस गवर्नमेंट स्टैंड्स फॉर ह्यूमन राइट्स एंड दिस एंड दैट और ट्रंप आएगा तो ये हो जाएगा वो हो जाएगा. तो आई थिंक वहाँ पे भी कोई थोड़ी रियलाइजेशन आई होगी कि भाई ये नेशनल इंटरेस्ट की सारी गेम है. एवरीथिंग एल्स इज सेकेंडरी. मोरालिटी ह्यूमैनिटी वो सब बाद में आती है.
Exactly. And I really hope we can see both of these countries without our lenses of religion,
Ummah.
because the Ummah. So we could understand that it's not as simple as we want.
Yeah.
Though, before you and I started recording, There has been news circulating.
I have been keeping a check.
Is there a confirmation or of his bunker being hit?
So that was only in the tweets. I could not find anything on the main publications.
Yeah, so the main publications are still not confirming, but from the video that Ali sent to us today, my understanding is that we might not find out for 5, 6 days if something happens.
Yeah, by the way, just before we started, like a few minutes ago, New York Times reported that the assessment from the US government or the Trump government at this point is that if they do either of the two things, one was kill the supreme leader
Mm.
or go against their underground nuclear site, that is gonna push Iran towards a nuclear bomb. So they're trying to not do both of those things. It
Yeah, I
it
think
actually
that's
gave that impression.
yeah. I think the last tweet I saw said that Iran, the U.S. and Iran has been today has made a contact.
Yeah, the talks are back on because Trump has now sorry, Trump has now gave like a time frame of like 2 weeks. He's gonna decide in a 2 weeks. So I think what they're saying is they're gonna use that 2 week window in trying to reach some kind of an agreement.
Yeah,
So hope that pans out. I think that's it. We'll continue following that. पिछला पूरा हफ्ता like मुझे तो सारे न्यूज़पेपर्स की हेडलाइंस पढ़ पढ़ के मुझे सफ़ों की ग्राफिक्स याद हो गए हैं.
yeah, it's the same thing. It's been like, and the thing
Okay.
is that when you're
Yeah.
continuously looking at these things and then you're also talking to friends and who have families back home, it's been exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's call it that, and hopefully we'll probably do a follow up if it is still relevant in a week's time, or we'll
Yeah,
discuss something else.
definitely.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks
Thank you
for
so
joining.
much.
Bye.